launch this live. It's not a big deal if you eat. I don't mind. It's just
Still trying to get a 5 Pro.
yeah. I can't remember. I thought I put a pitch in for you for that.
I haven't been picky about it because I'm really hoping they send me like the CR6 Max and
Yeah.
the what is the other one?
CR30.
That's a while away yet.
Yeah.
The one with the optional enclosure, the 250, 250, 400.
Oh, isn't that the other part of the 6 series?
Ender 6.
So it's not the 6 SE, it's a 6 something else.
I want both. I want the 444 6 SE and I want the Ender 6.
Right. So just to introduce the video, since it's going to be out for posterity later, this is Luke Hatfield, the owner of L3D Help Guide, and Nerys, or Chris. He's just going to hang out and distract me while I'm assembling some Ender 3 Pros for my friend Matt, who sort of asked me to put some together for him and do some modifications.
I got the little remote for the taser in the seat.
There you go. And the little clicking and filament noise in the background is I got some ear savers printing for some friends or whatever on the CR10S Pro. So you get to get that background noise all the time. But anyhow, so we wrapped up yesterday. I done the base builds. I don't know if you watched it at all, Chris. So I have a process that I use for the Ender 5s particularly, where when I put it together, I take the Z-lead screw out, I run the rails up and down with some PTFE lube in them.
Mm-hmm.
Then I align one of the rails to the frame after I make sure the frame's straight. And then I loosen the other one's pillow blocks and sort of run it up and down in sequence. So you loosen the one you're going to, you go down, tighten it just a little bit or snug it up, then go up to another loosened one, tighten it up. And I do that twice to sort of make sure that there's no bind in the rack.
Yeah.
And then I also squared the XY gantry for rotation to the main frame as well. So that's been done. I still need to do, I never really checked the eccentric wheel adjustment. I'll do that probably in my session today with my son Thomas. So anyhow, but I've done a lot of the mechanicals or whatever. I still need to mount the screens on or whatever, but my goal for today is to get the screens on. I've got all the extruders here. I got brand new Creativity brand BMG cleanse. So we're going to be putting those on and some other stuff.
I was wrong about the size of the screws. I was too small.
Okay, I'm sure you'll get it figured out. He's in the middle of a project for one of his cosplay guns he's making or something.
I almost couldn't get these Ender 3 V2 going today.
I was on your V2 broadcast, and then my work stuff sort of pulled me away.
It was missing 2 pretty critical bolts.
Yeah, so I think you heard me mention that I could probably build a printer off of my extra bolts.
Mm-hmm.
This is all of my extras, and those are all the 5 millimeters and 4 millimeters and.
Oh yeah, I got like 10 of those. The problem is they're in one of the freaking 40-foot containers outside.
Yeah, I knew you were handicapped. I didn't needle you about it. So
I got so many spare parts. I could probably build several printers just from the spare parts, but
absolutely,
no idea where the hell they are.
Yeah, like I've got a thing. So this has become sort of a hot end and other consumable kit. So I got enough to do like 5 full hot ends and whatever, which is crazy because I've literally only killed 2 heat blocks and 2 heat sinks in 2 years of printing, and they were both my fault. I got a little heavy-handed with them and stripped stuff out.
I got 5 or 6 complete hot ends, and I keep them specifically for the purpose of if I get a non-Creality printer and their hot end sucks, I just replace it.
Yep, that's the way to go. I did learn something cool the other day because I was thinking about it, and I'd never had all the parts sitting around to just sort of play around with it or whatever. But I'd always wondered if the CR10 S Pro and CR Max hot end would fit on an Ender series because I wasn't sure if it's the same bolt pattern to mount them. It does.
Ooh.
So that's the
You
share
probably-
for the day, right?
You probably just need some spacers, huh?
You just have to reset your Z height, really.
I mean, it's not flat though, so
Right.
you need a spacer.
The height from here to the hot end is almost identical from here.
No, I mean when you mount the bolts to the bracket, is it flat on the back?
Yeah, it's flat on the back, so it can mount just.
Oh,
like
okay. Oh, I thought it was round all the way around.
Nope.
Oh.
So yeah,
I never actually took one apart.
Only booger is when you do that, then you're stuck to those fine threaded hot ends and whatever that they have.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
That was my other score recently, was these. So the thing I loved about that when it came out is they put more thermal mass to the nozzles on those.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I like that, but nobody else had it that way, right? Well, now if I can show that up to the camera. There's
Yeah,
a company making the large size one with the coarse pitch thread that you can use
Yeah,
on the rest of them.
That's common.
So that's what I've been getting for my replacement nozzles now, and slowly swapping everything out to that.
The only reason I don't get those is because I can't get them in large sizes.
Yeah, so you can get them in 4 and 6 millimeter, I think. I haven't been able to find much bigger than that. But I have some bigger nozzles coming from a client that I've been working with for the Pro. They're the micro Swisses, but he finally decided he was going to go to a Slice Engineering Mosquito Magnum.
Nice.
He just recently bought some brand new micro Swiss stainless steel for the Pro that he can no longer use. And I even told him I'd buy them from him just
Stainless steel nozzles.
The stainless steel micro Swiss in the fine pitch for the CR10S Pro.
But the nozzles are stainless steel.
Yeah,
You're going to have a rough time with that.
I know the deal. You got to heat them up hotter and whatever.
Oh, but even sometimes, if you try to go bigger nozzles, heating them up isn't enough because the
I know, because of the
thermal transfer is insufficient.
Yeah. So with a standard brass nozzle and 0.4, my traditional,
You'll be fine.
15 to 20 degrees, right?
Yeah, you'll be fine. It's
Yeah.
only when you go to like
So-
1 millimeter or 1 point.
I'll probably actually just go to a 50-watt heat cartridge, and I'll be okay. But either way, he's sending them to me for free, so
Sweet.
I'll have them.
The problem I was running into was once you get to 0.8 millimeter and up, the problem is I would get the nozzles so hot that I could actually hear the filament cooking off inside the nozzle, but it still wasn't getting hot enough on the outside of the filament to properly print.
Yeah, people don't realize that the only real critical temperature zone, because the preheat's going to happen, generally speaking. The critical point is if you can't maintain the heat at the very tip of the nozzle, you're cooked goose. And
the
don't understand
thermal
That's
conductivity of
what he
the
did.
SS.
He was doing the whole, I'm going to try and print at 1,000 millimeters a second thing or whatever, and his real limiting factor was the fact that he couldn't melt the plastic fast enough to dispense it at that speed.
Now, something I hadn't thought of. I wonder if you can get some copper wire and wrap the nozzle to create like a thermal blanket around the stainless steel nozzle.
Yeah,
I wonder if that would help.
Those round ceramic heat blocks that get the heat source closer to it and more of a circular heat instead of single-sided heat. But I don't know.
I was thinking like a silicone sock, but made of copper and wrapped around the nozzle, just so that the copper would get hot and maybe bring more heat to the nozzle. I don't know if that would work or not.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the thermodynamics in that.
I know enough to know when you put a non-brass one on that you start losing heat in a hurry.
Titanium sucks too.
There's actually some pretty legit sort of thermal loss tables where you can calculate. You can basically calculate based on your heater and everything what you can get away with for deposition before your current system will fail. But I don't feel like engineering all that.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I'll let the E3D guys do that and make their little charts, and I'll just do what I'm going to do. At the moment, I'm looking for an Allen key that's going to fit this. I don't know what the deal is, but they're over tightening that one little screw that's 2 blocked off of this. Because you can't take this off without taking that off. And those they're trying to strip out. And like the last one I did, I actually had to take a pair of channel locks to it. To
Pain
get
in
it
the
off.
ass.
I got to get 3 of them now, so we're gonna figure it out here in a hurry. I knocked the thing off the table. You know, it came with the wrench. We'll try its wrench.
I don't like the BMG clones though. They're such a pain in the ass to load.
Yeah, so that's part of what I'm going to show here today. Is I have a sort of a fix for that can work. It's not 100%, but
I just like squeezing the arm and going shove, 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 done.
oh, you did. I did too, right? And I just put one on a machine the other day. That's one of the clone ones or whatever, actually, but made by the same company. And what happened is the relationship of the hob gear to the hole and everything, their geometry is off just a little bit, so it won't let it move through. So what I do is I just take the hob gear out and I drill the hole a little bit bigger to give it the more clearance it needs, and it works fine. And it doesn't affect being able to do the flexibles or anything like. We were only making it. I think I'm opening the hole up like 0.35 or 0.4 millimeters. It's not very much. Not enough for TPU to buckle in half in that amount of space. So
until you get the squishy stuff.
That's what you get with the inexpensive ones. I much prefer the original Bontex, which I have a fair amount of those around too. But this was
expensive.
not my projects or my pocketbooks. With what we're going with. And I thought I was more organized than I was starting out today. Oh, that's what he came in here and did. He stole my other Allen key set. That was my oldest. He came in and grabbed some other stuff, but I didn't realize he actually grabbed my other hex key set. We're going to find out here in a minute if I can come up with a hex key or if I got to go hunt him down.
Check it out. I finally got the carports done.
Sweet.
Look at all that shade.
Yeah, you're going to be made in the shade, literally.
Oh, it's such a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was 95 degrees out yesterday, and as soon as you step under the canopy, it's totally okay.
We're going to raid the toolkit for that G-Tech A30M I've got. See if it's got the right key in it. They've actually put like a pair of tweezers in that one for going after the boogers on the nozzle, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The A30M is that blending one or whatever. And it's all right, but I'm here to tell you that the sort of the novelty wore off in like a couple of days.
Well, if you have a need for it.
Not as easily entertained these days or what. But I'm still on the fence on whether or not it's going to stay in the farm or get rehomed at some point. Okay, here we go. You get one shot at it, or I'm toast here.
Just don't use the ball end.
No. And that was it. I'm really hoping I don't have to take a Dremel tool to this stupid thing.
I wish they'd stop using those mooncap nuts.
Yeah, the socket head.
The mooncap ones?
Full socket head cap screws, and they're using the button head cap screws, and it's just, there's not enough meat there to do
because
anything.
the quality control is just not high enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd be fine if they were built to the right tolerances, but they
I've
never
actually
are.
got enough stepper motors. If I didn't need this, flip this bracket off of here, I just assemble them with the other stepper motors and swap them out. Okay, so I'm going to step away from the camera just for 1 second so I can go get my channel locks and hopefully get that thing apart. With little tiny things like that, you grab multiple channel locks so you don't know which one's actually going to get a hold of the head right. So we got the narrow beaks, and then we got the big bruisers. Hopefully one of these is going to get a hold of that.
What, it's stripped?
If not, I've got the Dremel tool and
Did it strip on you?
Oh yeah, already stripped. Not going to be that pair, that's obvious. This will be a learning experience for people that are the newbies or whatever.
Fun.
Get one shot with my $45 Nipix. Hey, I think I got it.
Yeah, that's where high quality tools make a huge difference.
They do.
We were at the junkyard once trying to get an intake manifold for my dad's car. We busted up 3 sockets trying to get this damn thing off, and our mechanic Chris shows up. Says, "Hey, you need any help?" He goes, "Yeah." He pulls out his freaking snap-on socket. One try, it's off.
Yeah. I got a story about breaker bars and quality tools, right? So my buddy gets a Volkswagen Bug from somebody in his family or whatever, and we're trying to pull the hubs off of this Volkswagen Bug, right? Most people don't realize is the torque for the hub on the Volkswagen Bug is it's like 600 or 650 foot-pounds, right?
Very high.
Right. So we start off with my Craftsman half-inch breaker bar that broke in no time. Then we did a 3/4 inch Craftsman breaker bar. That one breaks. Then I brought in the heavy guns, and I got my cousin, and he had a 3/4 or 1 inch snap-on. We break that.
Wow.
Before I found out that there's a special tool that they make that's the size of this big ass nut. It's basically a piece of cut plate that's been thickened 1 thickness, and you hit it with a freaking sledgehammer. That's how you get the damn thing off of there. So we destroyed probably, oh God, it was $600 worth of breaker bars before we gave up.
Jesus.
And the right tool was I think it was like $15 for the flame cut.
It's basically an impact breaker bar.
Yeah.
Hitting with a sledgehammer is the same effect as an impact wrench.
Yep. You get the shock factor and the extra percussive force.
I actually bought a Milwaukee impact gun, a cordless impact gun, because I bought the same one my mechanic had, because when we got a flat tire on the school bus coming out to New Mexico, he took off the 33 millimeter nuts on that school bus with this impact gun.
Yep, that's on my list to acquire. I have a rather extensive list collection of Milwaukee tools. I have the oscillating tool, I have the drills, and I even have the port can. That was a really good score. But anyhow, I have everything but the half-inch or 3/4 inch impact that I want. And that one's the 28 volt, isn't it? The bigger one?
No, 18 volt, I think.
Okay. Well, there's an 18 volt and there's a 28 volt. I want the 28 one. But,
Well, at the time, there was only 18 volt, but there's 2 of them. You got the medium duty and the heavy duty. I got to make sure I got the heavy duty. But yeah, if that thing could take off the lug nuts on a school bus, that's a good wrench.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got some pneumatic tools at the house too. But
it's the only Milwaukee I have. Everything outside of it is DeWalt.
all right. Oh, shoot.
No, I got the Snapper too. I got a couple 58 volt Snapper tools.
Yeah.
Lawnmower, backpack leaf blower.
I know I set aside some bags to put these in. Because they're perfectly good.
Yeah, nothing wrong with them.
You get better surface finish with the gear reduction system. So we're swapping it.
I wish I could reliably get the updated Creality dual drive that doesn't chew itself apart.
Yeah, the one with Tiny Machines reworked to change the thrust bearing on it.
Something like that. Because I like that one. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I like that one so much. Now, mine did dig in at first, but I basically let it seat itself and greased it really good. And so I've got the original 10S Pro beta unit I got, 2 years ago, with the original extruder on it without machining it. But I cannot say that it never caused problems, because at a point, while I was doing the break-in, it damaged a couple of prints, But that being said, it's still actively in use, and that BMG I showed you, I'm actually looking at this weekend putting it onto that machine finally, just because I have one laying around and it's just there's something wrong about leaving a BMG laying on the table. Okay, so I need to get that hog gear off of there. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I was on last night, and because I didn't want to get a channel strike or whatever, I didn't have any music pre-set up that was like the "Don't Get in Trouble" music.
God, I hope they
rather-
fix that
It
copyright
was
shit one day.
rather quiet and dull.
I hope one day we fix that crap.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think I might have actually forgot to put this up on Creality. That's probably why we don't have but 2 people watching. I guess I should do that. Give me just 1 second. It'd be stupid to not do it at this point. Let's see here. Where's the share link? I'm going to end up clicking on it and having to hear us. And there we go. I got it before it made too much noise. Copy. There we go. Close that so it doesn't actually open up. You gotta love it when you get that echo thing going on.
You got a public link for this?
Yeah, I'll give it to you inside here. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Let's see. Why is it not giving me the? We usually have the private chat and then the public chat. Oh, there's the private chat. There you go. It's like they changed the. So that's the output. You're free to do with it as you please.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it to my channel so people can come in and watch.
Absolutely, and if you want to grab it for just stock content, feel free to download and repost or whatever. No issues for me. Not that it's really valuable, but if you wanted to, you can.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Facebook.
So how do I do this? I guess I have to go to Studio.
Where's it?
Then I go to.
Reality Official. Maybe
So
so much
how do
better
you-
on the phone. I'm sorry.
How do you post that? Like you can post a message to your YouTube community kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm so
create
long
post.
since I
Here
tried
we
to
go.
put anything on.
I figured it out, I think.
Where? No, we're just gonna search for
HATFIELD.
yes. Reality Official User Group. That's what I'm after. I'm only putting it on the one. I don't go out all night. I admin 32 groups, and I'm not gonna put it in every group.
I just put it on my channel, so see if we get some victims
Yeah.
to watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The more the merrier. The last one I put an explanation on that one that's just getting posted on the group. Whether people will come in or they won't. I'm not super worried about it either way. All right. So we continue on with our dismantling process here. Will that thing fit by there? Because the one I swear I got stuck on it. Yeah, of course my wife calls in the middle of this. Sorry. Hello? All right, give me just 1 second. I literally have my hands full at the moment. Right. All right. You got to keep the victims happy for just like 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
He'll be right back. Had to go answer the phone. Oh, My voice came back at me, made me jump.
No, you just went out the door. Because I crushed the arm.
I'll tell you, this Private Selection brand of ice cream, they got some good stuff with good flavors, and it's half the price of Ben & Jerry's. And half the calories, too. Although nothing beats Karma Sutra. Oh, I love Karma Sutra so much. That stuff is evil. Got a kitty cat brush. They seem to like it. It gets all that fuzz off. I hate when you nuzzle them and you get that fur all over your face. It's on Amazon. Actually, let me make a link.
All right. Sorry about that, folks. We got one son that's in quarantine from going out with family and COVID situations, and another one that's got chemo that is not able to help get the Costco load in.
Ooh, be careful.
Help bring in the Costco haul. All right. So where were we at? We were tearing apart hot ends and hoping that the one bolt passed the other bolt. Maybe I can get lucky and it'll come across. Well, that one made it. I don't know what I did the other night, but the other day it was jammed up. It would not, one wouldn't pass the other.
Yeah, if you go to my Amazon page under kittens, it's there. That one. If it'll let that go through. It might not.
Yes. Oh, I'm not on the outfeed anymore either. Where am I at? Comments. There we go. Yeah, Blaze B. Chris. What's a Jazzla? I don't even know what a Jazzla is.
A what? Oh, Jazzla's a printer. Oh, I do still have that Jazzla here somewhere. I gotta build that. It was on sale for a stupid cheap price, so I grabbed it.
Yeah.
I've never had a chance to touch it yet. It's in this pile somewhere. I gotta find that.
Crazy. People don't understand how we can get behind on some of our projects and stuff. You know?
No, it's mostly laziness.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's the day job.
Yeah. Last 2 days, I've been sore as hell. I feel like somebody beat the shit out of me. I was walking around the house and I tripped on the square lines for the carport.
Oh no!
Landed flat on my face. Let me tell you, a 500-pound person landing on their face hurts.
How big you are, that hurts. How are you and your sister doing with your diet thing?
We're not gaining, but we're not losing.
Your current eating plan, because diets are stupid. But
yeah. Although now I got a freezer full of fresh veggies, so I've been stocking up.
Veggie carbs, I'm not so worried about.
Oh, I love cauliflower and broccoli, though.
Yeah, those aren't bad. Even on keto, you can have those.
I could eat a whole bowl of those things.
Hey, I figured out the trick. If you take all the other bolts out except for that one, you can pivot the housing to get it loose.
Loosen it
So
up.
you guys learned something with me today. because I don't do a lot of this, but that one bolt or screw getting stuck has been pretty consistent across the last 5 printers I've came across.
How do you like it, Sean? Does it work? Does it work well, direct drive?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I just took my 5 Plus to direct drive just because I ended up with the BMG Mosquito hot end package or whatever.
Nice.
I think I told you about that. I got a marketplace deal. I remember you saying something about me cheating by having good marketplace deals like that. But they don't come up very often, but if you look at sort of the month-and-a-half stretch or whatever, I got a Stratasys for $300 that operates, and I got a basically $400 worth of hot ends and Bontex for like $200 and change.
I'm surprised we only got 5 people in here.
Yeah, I didn't announce it ahead of time or whatever. Last night, honestly, was pretty sad. I mean, we had 7 to 9 people, but it was just because I didn't pre-set it up or anything. But it's something to do. I got to check out my new camera. It seems to be working pretty good.
Yeah, video's clean.
Printer mods. So I wonder if that printer mods is Frank. If you're Frank, say yes.
And he said something and you didn't hear it.
Oh, I meant in the yeah. I got to remember I invited you in for this torture. So.
Yeah. I think that qualifies as a yes.
Yeah. Si, senor.
I got to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
9/10 of the population out here speaks Spanish.
It would be very beneficial for where your current habitation is.
Plus, to be respectful, if you could talk to people in their own language, that's just a sign of respect.
Yeah, they don't share the same respect in my area. Uh-oh.
Hang on a second.
Yeah,
Michelle. Maybe. Hang on a second. I got to turn on hot water.
Yeah, you're good. I will mute it for a second. There we go. Oh, you got another Ender 5 Pro to put together? Yeah, they're great machines. I love mine. I have a standard and a 5 Pro, but my 5 Pro, my 5 standard is converted. Yeah. Pretty bad when you got more to do than time to put together your new printer that's sitting there in the box. I did a live stream with Crowley the other day, and we had a guy, he had a CR10 that he hadn't opened for almost a year. And I got him on a personal chat to help walk him through setting it up. He was just basically intimidated by it, right?
Yeah.
And there's some of that goes on. You and I have talked about the user return thing that we see in the community and whatever.
It happens.
Anybody watches this later, if you get a printer and you just feel overwhelmed, take a minute, engage the community. There's lots of people like Chris and I out there that are willing to give freely of our time. We do appreciate donations and other stuff, but we still do it for free a lot of the time.
We will torture you incessantly, but our objective is to make you happy.
It's not without a cost, just not necessarily a financial one. Almost there. I need to really set up with like I have a little cordless screwdriver thing that I need to set up with Allen keys to do this stuff faster. I got till he's picking them up on Sunday, so I think I'll be fine. And I don't have work on Friday, so I think it'll be all right.
Oh man,
he asked me for my shipping address to get all the stuff shipped here, and I fat fingered one of the digits wrong on my address, and it caused some problems for a minute. So straighten up.
Yeah, that's
That
why I
was
got a PO box to take care of that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, but if you gave them the wrong digits for your
Wrong
PO box,
number. Yeah,
right?
same thing.
We got through it. One of the mislabeled ones made it to my neighbor who gave it to me, and then once we sort of figured out what was going on, we got a hold of Amazon and got them to get everything sorted out with the carrier to get it here.
Did you get a deal on it, Sean?
Yeah, you always get deals on those user returns. Like, I don't know what he paid, and don't hate us out there, those that pay full price for printers, but if you know the right people and are willing to deal with the mess that is a user return, because they are often a mess. Like, I got one, it was in less pieces than it was at the factory when I got it.
That's what he just said. It was more pieces than the other one.
But that being said, we get pretty good deals on them. Like, your average base Ender 3 is like 80 or 85 bucks. The pros run
wow.
like 90 or 95 bucks. And then the Ender 5 might be like 120 to 140 bucks, 160 bucks, depending on the condition. Or whatever.
Wow.
But,
that's worth it.
So. Yeah, they're definitely sort of worth it if you're willing to do the work, right? Because
if you know what you're doing, it's no big deal.
Some of these are basket cases, like the last Pro that I got, I didn't even pay for that one. That was a sort of a favor from somebody from Creality who did some other stuff for him. But anyhow, so it was totally free, but it had mishandled or bent.
I like that. I look at the box and say, just not today. That's good.
But that one was bad enough that, so my average, I can fully build out and have one going most of the time with like a user return in about 2 hours if it's not a total basket case, right? Sometimes less, but obviously. But that one took me a legit 3 hours to work through because it had it was an old enough one. I don't even know how they got it returned because it was prior, you and I know the timeline of the Enders, right? So it was before they fixed the end cut problem on the verticals.
Mm-hmm.
And he got it user returned somehow. I don't know how.
Must have been NOS.
Yeah.
Some company.
Anyhow, the headaches that come with trying to get the gantry lined up with all that and all that stuff. So it took a little extra care.
Yeah.
But it's where's it at?
You just take one of the washers and put it under the edge, and you're done.
Where did I put the thing at? Oh, it's up there. I'll turn the camera here sometime and we'll show it. But. Hey, we got 3 of them dismantled. I'm making record time. How long did it take me? Half an hour to dismantle 3 hydrants. That is not good time.
Yeah, when I bought my my 9 Ender 2s, all of them were perfect. Like you could tell the person never took a thing out of the box, just sealed it right back up and returned it. The last one was a USPS flat rate box with all the parts just crammed inside.
Yeah, that was sort of like that one was, and there was literally no packing foam or anything. I mean,
nope.
Parts were beaten and shipping, and it was a mess.
Rail would pop through the box and was sticking out. But you know something? There was nothing wrong with it. I built it. It worked fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the whole deal. And I feel bad for the people that get ones that are sort of problematic because they do happen.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of improving their quality, and there's way less of that going on. Most of the ones now are people made it wrong, made it go bad.
Don't want to accept responsibility.
Yep.
It couldn't possibly be my fault.
I got somebody in one of the groups that was going off about they ordered a CR10 V1, knowing that they're ordering a V1 because they couldn't get the V2 that they wanted. It was during the printer shortage or whatever.
Yeah.
So it had gotten a little bit of impact damage. You know how it sort of can mess up the carriage eccentric where it's all loose? So for those that don't know, if you get one that's impact damage in freight, it'll be so loose that if you do the eccentric all the way around, it won't go tight. And people think, oh, it's totaled, right? All you got to do is take all 3 bolts out and reassemble it, and it'll come right back together and it'll work fine. But so that one that I was just talking about had that. They were upset that they didn't get the firmware past whatever version was on it when it was put in the box. Like they're going to unbox it and put new firmware on it, right? And a couple other things. And they want them to fully return this printer. And like, if they've literally spent more time complaining about it than if they'd have worked with me and done the physical hands-on to fix it, and they could be using it, right? And they couldn't understand why I was a little irritated with it. Like,
Yeah, well, that kind of person is just going to run into the next problem and do the same thing.
oh yeah, they're ready to return it and get the CR10 V2, and I'm like, the CR10S Pro V1 is better than the V2 for what they were doing, and I'm like, you're trading a better printer for a less advantageous printer for what you're doing or whatever, in my opinion. I love the V2. It is a decent printer, but I think that the 10S Pro is a better printer than the V2.
Mm-hmm.
I got to choose between the two. But it is what it is.
I just wish I could convert my CR10S Pro and my CR10 Max over to manual bed leveling. I want to get rid of the damn sensors.
You can. It's just
You got to rewrite firmware and add
Yeah.
switches and.
there is another way around it if you really want to do the manual on the Z.
Uh-huh.
Only do Z homing on X and Y, because if you direct it X and Y, it won't do Z.
Uh-huh.
Then when you start it, just start it at height at your Z0 or your Z position, and it'll be at the height you want it at the whole time. You don't have to change the firmware or anything. Excuse the background noise, they're putting away all the Costco haul or whatever. All right, what am I doing? Okay, so I got a BMG. The first thing we're going to do is see if filament will run through this thing. That's the first test. Yeah, I'm sure your 10S Pro is like mine. I mean, I don't need the ABL on it.
It doesn't. It's flat bed. That bed is so flat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only ABL I don't mind is the CR6 SE. That is amazing. And so far, it works perfect every single time.
Oh, I know it just fell. That stupid little washer they put on those things. I got that new epoxy floor, so things that are black like that turn out really good, but silver things on my sort of gray and white floor.
No, printer mods, I don't want a mesh bed level at all. I just want strictly manual, just like an Ender 3.
Yeah.
I am very, very good at leveling my beds by eyeball on the first shot. I don't need some stupid sensor fighting with me.
Yeah. Yep.
It's gotten to the point where I could just walk up to a printer and just go to the knobs and go, beep, 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 done, walk away, it's finished.
So this one is better than the last one I got. I think it's
Like hell, I have a CR10S5. I used my Mark 1 eyeball to level that thing the first time I set it up, and perfect print every time. I printed a full 500 by 500 print, no problem.
Mhm.
No ABL, no nothing.
I had an S5 here for work or whatever. I didn't eyeball it, but I did a paper touch up on 4 corners and went to printing on it.
I just look at that gap physically between the nozzle and the glass, done. I don't have to mess with a thing.
So I have a mod I do on these where I drill out the hole a little bit bigger to give it a little bit easier run at the feeding. I'm just deciding if this one's going to get it or not. It's right at the threshold of whether or not we're going to drill on it or not. I think we're going to do it because he's doing a print farm and he's not going to be playing games with a tight feed system.
Yeah, but that only applies when it actually works. Half the time it doesn't freaking work.
Okay, here, so.
I wouldn't be complaining about the ABL if it actually worked most of the time.
Yeah, so I don't know what the deal was with yours, but my ABL is still working fine. I know that you did have trouble with yours, and I don't doubt.
Oh no, once I, like for example, with the Ender 5 Plus, once I figured out what not to do, no problem. It worked every time.
Yeah.
It was just figuring out that quirk of, okay, don't touch the Z offset and the print tune. And you were fine. And it worked fine.
Yeah, the only place that I do the Z offsets on any of the touch screens is at the Z offset on the leveling screen. If you only do it there, you're good. You
And
can
don't get me wrong. I know ABL works.
you can do
Tim,
the live test or whatever too, but
both
for primary,
Tim and Prusa use ABL on all their farm machines, and I know it works fine. It's just, for me, it's an extra step of failure. It's one more component to go wrong, and it's annoying. And I can't just put ABL on all my machines. It would cost as much as this house.
yeah,
What would that cost?
slowly upgrading what machines I want with what I want over time.
Yeah, $7,000 it would cost me to upgrade all my machines to ABL.
A pair of calipers just to make sure that this is the bit I wanted. I'm pretty sure it is, but
I mean, no doubt if I had 5-10 machines with the same ABL and I was using it every day,
Yep.
I'd probably get perfectly competent at using it.
Mm-hmm. One thing I hate about this thing is it's magnetic.
But ultimately, ABL is a Band-Aid. ABL is a Band-Aid that is correcting another problem. If you correct that original...
is if you got a big enough bed that has enough curvature in it that it needs to compensate it. Then it makes sense. Here in a minute, I'm probably going to go back and grab my impact so that it takes less time. This is fine for when I'm traveling on the road, but I'm at the house. I can use my Milwaukee. So I'm going to go grab it because I'm going to need it again.
And don't get me wrong, my S5 came with a slightly warped bed. And you know what I did? I unwarped the bed. I fixed the bend in the bed so it wasn't warped anymore. Problem solved.
This will drive it.
If you have a warped bed, just set up 2 like pencils or something thicker than a pencil, and put your bed on the 2 pencils, and then just gently do CPR in the middle. You know, push, 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 and you'll eventually take out the bend, that warp in the bed.
Now, this is the other part of these things is lining up the hob gear with the actual holes. Sometimes they get it right and sometimes they don't. Yeah, that filament passes without getting stuck on the gear. That's what you're talking about. So once you hit that release arm, it'll actually let it go.
Good.
So we are good. We took it from being 2 millimeters to being 2.35 millimeters. Doesn't take much. Okay, so that one's fixed in. Put it back together. Now, what am I doing here?
Yeah, the guy kind of screwed up on the carport in the back of the house. It was supposed to be roof to roof.
Mm-hmm.
So each side was supposed to match up with the roof of the house and the roof of the shipping container. And he made it about a 1.5 feet short of that. And he's like, well, it's fine, it'll be fine. And I had him help me carry the door around for the shed, and we set the door up. I was like, tell me that's fine. The door was about 6 inches taller than the roof of the canopy. And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's tall enough that I can walk underneath the beam without hitting my head on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to leave it, and I'm going to have the door open inwards instead of outwards. That is not a problem.
It's nice when you provide the little insert piece of PTFE to go in these things for the in-feed.
That's what Creality needs to do on all their printers. You see that if you watch my Everyone Thinker S video, you'll see they do that on theirs. Where's that part at? What they need to do is just have a compression fitting on both sides of the feeder, and then just a 2-inch piece of PTFE coming out of the input compression fitting. There you go. All your problems are solved. You can mount your filament roll on top wherever the hell you want, and that PTFE tube will guide it right in without it chewing anything up.
Right, and here's where I come at odds with what the manufacturer says. So for whatever reason, they always want you to put these hob gears with the unmilled part out away from the shaft. But when you put it in, you got to sort of put this on sideways and roll it in there. It's driving on the same spline whether you put it this way or that way.
Yeah.
So I put it the other way. Manufacturer says to put it sort of the other way. But I haven't figured out any mechanical reason for that, so that's what I do. I think they do it just to try and keep people from getting the hob or the drive. This is actually a drive gear because it's driving the other gear. But they're just trying to keep that drive gear from being bound up against the stepper when people install it and just not understanding what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's going to work. All right, now I got to look at rotation, orientation. So this thing is going to go on the side of the machine like that. The extruder motor, I want the wires pointing down. And then the drive system is actually going to point up. And that's the way it's going to go together.
How do you get the hob gear at the right height?
Oh, see how it's set right there? See the back set on that? It just has to be tall enough to actually engage the drive wheel when it goes together.
Oh, that's right. These are gear reductions, so you're not actually meshing the two hobs. Okay.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, and that's why I was saying it. I don't think it's super critical about the other.
As long as the gear drives the other gear, you're fine. Okay.
And as long as these screws are long enough to engage that stepper motor, if they're not, I'm going to be sweating it. I mean, I've got some extra hardware, but having 9 of that particular bolt that they didn't quite fit, I might make a trip to Home Depot or something. All right.
Yeah, I was missing 2 M416s, and I have a case of M4 out in the bus somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like a whole case of just M4. It's there somewhere.
Yeah, another thing I got to do is I got to reverse the wiring pins on this. We're going to do a manual reverse instead of a
Firmware.
I prefer to do it that way. That way, every time you do the firmware, you're not having to go, oh, did I remember to do that?
Yeah, each time you flash it, you got to do it again. That's right.
Yep.
At that point, can you make it in firmware so that you have a menu option to flip it?
It'd be nice if you could. I think that Tiny Machines is pretty close to getting that much into some of his builds, but we're still not there yet. You can, depending on how the firmware is set up, you can actually toggle it in the EEPROM if it's told that you're allowed access to it. But not everybody gives you access. That's the whole.
Yeah, but if you're flashing your own firmware, you can give yourself the access, right?
Yeah. As long as you know what all the stuff to put in it.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't wait to get all this food out of my living room.
Yeah.
I got a 10 by 20 shed going up. That's actually going to soft airlock attached to the house. So it won't actually be bolted to the house. It'll just be sitting up against it. And this way I don't violate any zoning rules. And but it's all going to be insulated. And
okay.
Oh, hey, said you could do negative E-steps. That's interesting. I didn't think about doing it that way.
Every time I've tried to do negative E-steps, it pukes on me. I don't know what the deal is, but I gave up on that. Because when I put the negative value in as a, so normally you set your E-step as M92E, whatever it is. These are going to be 413. So it'd be M92E 413, right? If I do it as a negative value, it always screws me. It locks up on me or whatever. I haven't figured out why. I never claimed to be the firmware expert. I know how to read G code really well from my machining days, but anyhow. All right, so we got one done. 2 more to go.
Somebody on Nextdoor says, "Hi, I'm a treasurer of a small HOA and I need some help with QuickBooks. Can I eat you? Because I hate HOAs and I would rather commit Harry suicide than ever live under an HOA.
Yeah.
I've already got one fiefdom telling me what I can do with my house. I don't need 2 fiefdoms telling me what I can do with my house."
Yep. Getting more toys out here. Hey, the camera seems to autofocus pretty well once it's finished.
Your camera looks fantastic.
Yeah, it was
Good
a
colors.
gift from a client. He had
Good
bought
color
it.
rendering too.
It's a Logitech. It's only 1080p, but for streaming, that's all you really need.
Oh, you don't need. All mine are 1080p. It's silly to go more than that.
One of these days, I'm going to figure out what to do with these things. I end up with a crap ton of them, but I never use them. It's a bracket to move it 90 degrees or whatever. But I never end up using these silly things for anything.
Yeah, I flat out turned down 3 houses as soon as the words HOA came up. I was like, nope, that's it. I'm not interested.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me enough to live in a place that has HOAs.
Hell no. HOAs keep property values up. I don't want my property value up. I want my property value as low as possible. I don't plan to move.
Yep.
I want low taxes. Thank you very much. You know, people say that you end up with junkyards and everything like that, and cars on blocks in the yard and stuff like that. And I was like, there's already laws to account for that kind of stuff. If something poses an actual danger to me, there's already laws in place to take care of that. I don't need an HOA, measuring the height of my grass.
Yeah. Tell me what color I can paint my house and crap.
I mean, I got a guy 3 doors down who has a literal junkyard in his yard. Do you know the only reason I know he has it? Because I see it from 300 feet up.
Right.
If you just drive by his place, you would never know. So
Yep.
as long as he's not endangering anybody, who cares? Leave the guy alone.
Yep. This one looks just a little off center. We're going to see if we can center the.
Yes, if somebody's being dangerous, okay, you got to go to the town, you got to deal with it. But if they're not being dangerous, leave them mind your own goddamn business.
All right. So they're in high-speed mode now. We've determined that all of them are getting the
Drill out.
drill up.
So is that why you can't push filament through manually, because of that offset?
It's the geometry of, they held really tight on the bore, and then the hog gear is a little bit off center 2 ways. I mean, it's off center on its center line and off center on the hole. And it only takes just a little bit of material removal out of there to get it to go through.
So now you can push the lever and just shove filament through? Nice. I'll have to try that. Because, man, do I hate sitting there going click, 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 as I wait.
When I can, but I can't buy all Bontex, but I've purchased or acquired 4 or 5 of them now, so I don't have to feel too guilty about the ones that are clones. Right? I have at least almost a 50-50 ratio between first run and clones. Right?
Plus, isn't it open source?
They did not do open source. That's the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Do they have a patent?
Yep.
Okay. So then the clones are violating the patent. Okay.
Yeah. But nobody's stopping it.
Can't afford to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially when you're going after somebody in another country and that country's government's not going to help you enforce it.
Yep.
Not much you can do at that point.
The second runs do okay, but I really do feel that I get better performance out of the OEM ones.
No doubt.
The OEM ones are $90 to $100, and the The cones were down as low as $16 pre-COVID, but they had sort of a price
Spiked a
increase or whatever. So now the cheap ones are around $22 or $24, I think. Anyhow, I'm doing my orientation thing as we talk here. Oop, I better put the gear on. That would help, huh? It won't drive the filament. I don't know why.
I once had tech support. I worked tech support for VoiceNet for many years. God, that was a dream job. The pay was so good, the benefits were wonderful, and the job was so easy, relatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this one lady call up, and this is back in the dial-up days where you had to set DNS settings.
Yeah. Back when did you restart the machine?
Oh, that happens a lot. I almost lost my shit because my media player wasn't working. It wasn't playing the audio for a file I just played last night. And I was like, wait a minute. Let me restart. I restarted the computer. It worked fine. Something didn't load on boot up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I told her, I was like, well, let's check your DNS. It's not the DNS. I set the DNS. Okay. Let's check this. Let's check this. Let's check this. Okay. Try it again. I'm back and forth to her for like 45 minutes. She'd hang up. She'd try it. She'd call back. And then I was like, ma'am, do you mind if we check the DNS?
I already did that.
She's like, fine. We went into there and I was like, what's in the DNS? And she's like, nothing. I was like, okay, here's the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and let's try it again. She tried it again. It worked. And I was like, alrighty, man, you're good to go. If you have any problems, give me a call. And she ends the call with, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no problem. Her thank you was for not saying I told you so.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. Just for not saying I told you.
I made it a point to avoid saying, now, didn't I say this from the first call?
Yeah.
Because you got to be politic. They're people. You
Yeah.
can't just beat their face in,
No.
And people
False scenarios.
and good human beings appreciate that when you don't rub their face in it.
Yep.
Actually, another time a guy came in with a laptop. He was one of our high-paying customers. He had a fractional T.
Uh-huh.
So we don't normally do direct hardware tech support like that. But boss came up to me and said, "Hey, you work with laptops?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Take a look at this guy's computer, see what you can do." He's like, "No obligation. We don't normally do this. Just take a look at his computer." And this guy's where I actually got my rules of computing from. So I turn on his laptop and I open it up, and the first thing I notice is the laptop is already on. And as soon as I see that, I know exactly what happened. I open it up and Solitaire is open. He's like, "I can't get rid of Solitaire, and the computer is running so slow." And I looked at him. I was like, okay. Second rule of computing: if the computer asks you a question, no, I'm sorry, that's the first rule. I was like, if you do something and nothing happens, don't do it again. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, these computers can be a little slow. So when you tell the computer to do something, most of the time the computer got your command. It's just taking time to do it. And eventually it's going to execute your command. And I was like, do you
all the
see
times you click that button before it got to it.
I was like, do you see all these icons at the bottom here in your start menu and your start bar? He's like, yeah. I was like, every single
instances of Solitaire open.
Yep. I was like, every single one of those is a copy of Solitaire. He's like, really? And I was like, yes. I was like, the other problem is you're not turning your computer off. He's like, well, I do. I close the lid. I was like, when you close the lid, that puts the computer to sleep.
Uh-huh.
So it's actually maintaining the system as it is right now. So the 100 copies of Solitaire you had opened are being reopened when you open the computer back up again because the computer never actually shut down. And I was like, if you use sleep, you can leave that, or you can change that function. You could tell it to, shut off when you close the lid. I don't advise that. But be aware when you close the lid, the computer's not actually turning off. I was like, so when you encounter a problem like this, make the computer turn off. Do an actual start, restart. And I was like, that will get rid of all those instances of Solitaire. I was like, so the next time you open a program, when you click it, give it time. Give it 30 seconds. Make sure it's not just thinking about it.
Those were the days, that's for sure.
Well, this is back in the day of, 386, 486 laptops with Windows 3.1.
I remember I got a used 486 DX200 or something off a buddy of mine, and I was so stoked about that.
Hey, JC, we're doing pretty good.
Am I missing text messages or something?
Oh, man, my excitement that first time I got a 4 megabyte RAM upgrade. That was so much RAM then.
Oh, yeah. You were styling. I remember the first.
Oh, my God.
So I went down to Circuit City or Best Buy. I don't remember what it was. One of the electronic shops. And I got a 5 gigabyte. This was a big deal then. 5 gigabyte Western Digital hard drive, and it had an LS120 drive. So you could have 120 meg and about the size of a regular 3.5 inch floppy. And I thought I was the shit because I had that. Right?
Hey, red light. Oh man, I was so excited when I got that RAM upgrade because remember this is when the RAM prices first came down.
Yeah.
I got the RAM for $38 a megabyte, which at the time was just unheard of cheap for RAM.
Oh, yeah.
Now you could buy multi-gigabyte sticks for $20.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every computer I have, my laptop, my desktop, they all have 32 gigabytes of RAM in them. It's incredible.
JC Productions, you did a CPU upgrade legitimately blind. Props to you because it would kick my ass. I had a friend of mine I'd have to go to when I got in trouble because I missed the whole MS-DOS generation of computing. So when it came time to set up new motherboards or whatever, I got handed my butt because I didn't know all the DOS commands that I needed. You know?
I still remember playing Tooth Invaders on my VIC-20. I still have that Tooth Invaders cartridge, I think. I think I kept it.
They call themselves like the 8-bits or something like that. There's a local vintage computing club. They get together like once a month at the pizza parlor or whatever, and everybody drags out their, whatever, their VIC-20s or their any of the old printers, the 8-bit printers. Whatever. They have a good time. VIC-20s, 64s. Isn't there one like called an Omega or something? Whatever. All those old machines.
I had a pretty healthy collection of old weird computers. I had a Mattel Aquarius, VIC-20s, Commodore 64s. I had a couple of Atari XLs and regular Ataris. I had a couple of Trash 80 boards and Trash 80 all-in-ones.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
I remember when I got to go into the Apple IIc when I was in grade school. It was in the special education lab, but you could go use it after school if you stayed late or whatever.
The only Apples.
Yeah. They had the green and black monochrome screen.
Mm-hmm. The only Apple I played with was at school. I never had one at home, of course. And that was the first time I played Defender, one of my all-time favorite games.
Oh, I love Defender, yeah. When I had it on the Atari 2600, I think it was at 100,000 points. It sort of rolled over and started back at the beginning because it didn't have anywhere to go from there. So I went on this binge one day and I rolled it over 10 times. So I made 1,000,000 points playing Defender.
You want to talk about pissing me off? I left Spike at home. My old Vectrix. I forgot it. I didn't put it in the bus.
I don't know what's worse, that or leaving the Macs behind.
I love my Vectrix. Yeah, I remember Tiger Direct. I remember once when we had the boat on a river, and there was a pretty decent current.
Yeah.
So getting the boat back up onto the trailer was going to be interesting.
Yeah, anytime you have a tight current when you're loading a boat on the trailer is always a good
And
time.
this guy on the ground on the land says, "No way in hell is he going to get that." And because yes, have you ever done that before? I was like, no. And I looked at him. I was like, 2 tries. He looked at me. He was like, what? I was like, 2 tries, a test run, and then I'm going to nail it.
You're coming in hot, whether you make it or not. You're coming in.
Oh no! I come up the first time, and I'm gauging the current and the draft of the boat, to figure out what the crabbing is.
Oh,
I was like, I'm going to crab this right in. He's like, what's crabbing? He's like, I fly airplanes. This is no different. Second time, I slick that fucking boat right into that trailer. I come in from all the way out. I don't try to come in from close, and I just take a diagonal that's taking me right exactly where I need to go from upstream, and a little tiny goose of the throttle at the last second, and it slips it right in. And I was like, it's just like flying an airplane. You just got to understand the physics and the geometry. That's all. The first attempt was for, physics and geometry isn't enough. You also have to know how the mechanics operate. Yeah. And that's what the first pass was for.
I used to have a roller wheel trailer,
mm-hmm.
and that was a nightmare on side currents, right? But my last trailer that I acquired, I finally got upgraded to what we call a bunk trailer. So I literally, all I got to do is get the nose in between the 2 bunks, and I'm on my trailer. I don't have to worry about it. It's so much more relaxing when I hit the launch anymore.
Yeah, long trailers are actually easier than short trailers. Our 38-foot tag-along camper trailer, I can back that into a campsite all day long, no problem. But that little
guy with an extra cab, a little Datsun shorty trailer.
Oh. But that little tiny freaking 4-foot trailer behind my car, what a nightmare. Mm-hmm. The wheelbase is just so short, it jacks so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Getting close here. Found out that the Capricorn's arriving soon. I forgot that the Pro came with Capricorn, so we ordered 3 meters of Capricorn. That'll show up probably tomorrow.
That's too bad, Reptar. That sounds like a good deal. I mean, hell, the 8 spools of filament are worth $200. Yeah, 8 spools of filament, even at $20 a pop, is $160. Damn.
All right. So Luke did a rookie move. Those things had about 4 threads of engagement. That little pop you heard a second ago was me pulling out the 4 threads.
Oh.
The good news is I'm pretty sure I've got some longer things, and there's plenty of thread down below it. Jeez. I just got to make sure the new one's long enough. That one's identical length. There you go. That one's longer.
I actually crimped my trailer in the middle once backing up. You're not going to believe how I did it. One of the straps that was on the trailer got underneath the rear wheel of the trailer, and there was enough traction between the strap and the wheel that the strap bent the trailer.
Oh, I believe it.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I didn't even hit anything.
So I don't know if Matt's watching, but I did bung the lead threads on this one, so you got a longer screw in that one. It's not going to mechanically affect anything, but that one will need to have that screw back in that hole again if you ever have to take it apart or whatever. All right. Put this right in there.
I thought I got burned on eBay. Guy, well, I'd get my money back, of course, but I
Yeah.
ordered that Time Life DIY Home Repair Series books.
Uh-huh.
$105 for the whole 36 volume set, which is pretty hard to find. Actually, you can usually find 25 to 28 volumes, but finding all 36 is pretty tough.
Yeah,
And,
so when I was a contractor, I had the Home Depot help book. That was for when I got in over my head. I'd go to the book. But it's a single book. Yeah.
so I ordered the 36 volume set.
Forge or any laser cutter engraver as well as CNC system outside of 3D printing. So I'll let you say what you want to say about it, Chris, but my opinion on that is if you want a laser, get a tube diode, or not a diode laser, get a tube laser, because the diode ones, they're home hobbyists, right? So these 3-in-1 CNC laser printer things.
Glowforge is not a,
all
it's
three of
not,
them.
it's not a 3-in-1. It's a dedicated laser.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the Glowforge is pretty good. It uses a full spectrum laser. I don't know what kind of laser it is, but I know it'll cut transparents.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is it's expensive. It's $7,000.
That's some coins.
Yeah. But from what I understand, it's a very nice machine, but I don't have any direct experience. So I can't really give you any feedback on it. I make it a point not to give feedback on things I haven't touched.
Yeah. We can gawk at the specs with you, but we can't give you any first-hand experience. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to mount these.
I got this little fan off Amazon. It's got a 5-amp battery in it, so on the lowest speed setting, it'll run for almost 2 days.
Sweet.
And it's quiet.
Almost like the LED version of the fan.
Mm-hmm. Basically, it's just a giant battery.
Remember how flashlights used to suck because the batteries would die in like a couple hours?
I believe the Easy Extruder is direct drive, so your E-steps shouldn't have to change. I think the Easy R is direct, so your E-steps should remain the same. Yeah, I think it's just a bolt-on replacement. You put it on, you're done. You don't have to change anything.
Yeah, these ones are going to be running at 413 E-steps.
Now, the ones he's putting on are geared, so they're not direct drive. You have the stepper motor driving a gear, and then that gear drives the Bondtech gears.
Gives it
Hey,
a
Michael.
3-to-1 gear ratio. So in addition to changing the E-steps, you actually have to change the jerk, acceleration, and travel speed.
Yeah,
Because
triple
it's
everything.
3 times as far to do the same amount of work. A lot of people forget about that, and they're like, I don't understand. This is supposed to be better, and it's not better. You got to do more than steps.
Silver Creality metal extruder is direct drive. So you are direct drive. When we say direct drive, we're not talking about the direct drive versus Bowden. We're talking about the stepper motor shaft has the drive gear on it that touches the filament. So you have stepper motor, gear, filament. That's direct. There's nothing in between them. Now the Bondtech is indirect. So you have stepper motor, gear, larger gear, and then that larger gear has a small shaft, and then that small shaft then connects to the gear drive that touches the filament. So there's a gear reduction going on in the actual feeder motor, and it's 3-to-1. So you have to triple your speed, triple your steps, triple your jerk, and everything else. But both the Easy R and the stock Creality and the metal Creality are all what I call direct. In this case, meaning there's no gear reduction going on. It's stepper shaft, gear, filament. What the hell is that bass?
Oh, somebody coming through the neighborhood sharing their music with us.
Are you serious? That's from a passing car?
Yep.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that guy is sort of new to the area. And
That's
he and I haven't heard
that's also direct drive, but that's for something different. That's for the filament to hot end. So in a printer, you have the extruder. The extruder is a combination of the feeder and the hot end. Now, on most printers in the old days, the feeder was directly on top of the hot end. So here was your feeder unit, and here was your hot end. That both together make your extruder. On a Bowden setup, the feeder and the hot end are separated by a Bowden tube. So we call it direct drive when you put them together. Technically, direct drive is the wrong word for it, but it's like calling Kleenex Kleenex. It's just the word we use.
non-gear reduction, but that doesn't roll off your tongue.
No, I think 3-in-1 machines are always going to be niche, less than capable machines. It's like trying to use an F1 race car to both drive to school and to go off-roading. Can you do it? Maybe, but it's always going to suck at all three.
Yep.
In reality, it's the reason I have 4 cars. I have the electric car for my daily driving, I have the minivan for my long-haul traveling, and I have the pickup truck when I got to go haul heavy shit or I need 4-wheel drive. Can you do it with one vehicle? Sure, you could buy a Subaru Forester and it would pretty much do all 3, but you're going to have compromises to all 3. So pretty much no matter what you do, you're going to have a compromise if you try to do a 3-in-1 machine. Can they make a 3-in-1 machine that doesn't compromise? Yes, it'll cost you $15,000 and it'll take up the size of a refrigerator. Because it'll have to be so overbuilt to do all 3 well. And you're getting a 3-in-1 machine for a few $100. There's going to be massive compromises in all of them.
Like the CPO one, it's fun, but you got a thing that, I mean, they call it an engraver. It's not a CNC machine, and it is that. It'll engrave, but that's about it. You got a laser that'll burn wood or paper, and you got a printer that's actually pretty decent. That thing works better.
Great printer.
Too.
Except the parts cooling sucked ass.
Yeah, the parts cooling sucks, but for what it is, it prints really well.
But the reason it prints really well is because they had to overbuild the frame in order to allow it to do any kind of CNC at all.
Uh-huh.
So you end up with a mediocre CNC engraver and a very good 3D printer. And then the laser is just
what I'm doing. I'm about ready to do this polarity swap on the stepper motor, and there's 2 ways to do it. One way you only swap the interpoles, and the other way you swap all of them. I must just swap them all, because then they come back to the right order if you ever go to put it back the other way. But I'm taking colored tape and marking the wires. I'm going to take a picture before I start, so when these things get free, if I get lost on where everything was at, it's going to go back in the right order. So it is an extra step, but partly because it's for a client and partly because I do it anyways on my machine just so I don't lose track. I mark all the wires before I start.
Because those extra steps solve a headache later.
So a little tedious, but we'll get through it. And as you'll see, it doesn't take all that long to do it. I actually have a miniature tape dispenser that probably goes faster than this, but my other son snarfed it from me the other day, I'm pretty sure. The art of getting the tape to fold over evenly on itself. So we got yellow, blue, white.
Well, that's because the Creality machines don't have a feeder designed to handle flexibles. The tolerances are too loose. There's gaps where the flexible could fit through.
Yeah,
if you slow down and you print a really heavy TPU, like the kind you get on Amazon, you can make it work fine. But as soon as you try to go faster, or as soon as you try to do something softer, you need a different extruder. You need a different feeder unit.
So I will say that I went on to Thingiverse. I got a printed version of essentially their base for their extruder that was more set up for having it's set up to have PTFE in it to close up that gap.
That's what you need to do.
3D printed thing with just a little bit of trimming the tubing and putting it together. I was printing TPU, a pretty soft one. It was like a 88 softness.
Oh, that's real soft.
And I was printing it at 60 millimeters a second, 50% underspeed with retraction. And then the next stage in this, if you're following along for learning stuff from this deal, is once you put the wires on or the colors on, you make sure you can see which part of the plug, because the plug has score marks on one side. You oriented it so you can see one way and see where the markers are, so you know what your color order is when you go to put it back the next time. Because you're not going to remember. At least I don't.
So I'll show you guys the problem with the flexible.
And if you're worried about pulling the pins out, now a regular JST, it's a mother to get them out, right? But these particular ones, these little gates here, you can take a razor blade. You can all but just work it up underneath the front edge of those things and tip it up, and it'll release all the pins at once.
So here's what the exit on your hot end looks like. Okay, so this here is your exit. This is your entrance. Your filament comes in. It goes in between the gear and the idler, and then it cuts a gap here. Oh, this finger. There's a gap here, and then it exits out through your Bowden tube. This gap right here is your problem. The flexible filament will fit into that gap. So that little triangular cutout there, you need to make that triangular cutout mesh with the gears. Now, the easiest way to do this is what the Flexion did. And that's exactly what Luke here just described with his 3D print. So what you essentially do is you have your exit like this, and then you have it cut out like this. And then you have your gear drive here. I'm going to show you this in a second. And your filament comes out here like this. And then here you have a piece of PTFE tube stuck into the hot end. And that piece of PTFE tube is going to, you take nippers and you cut a point into your PTFE tube. And that PTFE tube fits into a socket on your exit, and you adjust it until it's the right length so that that point jams into that gap between your gear drive and your idler. Now you have what's called a zero tolerance fit. There is no gap here. Eventually these teeth will grind down this PTFE tube until it's a perfect mesh with this the gear drive and your idler, and now there's no place for it to go. The filament can't escape. Technically, there is a small path for it to escape with the tolerance of your idler gear. That's where the dual drive comes in handy, because when you're driving filament with the gear, here's your idler, here's your gear, and when you're driving it, you're actually applying a torque because only one side's being pushed. So when you push like this, the filament wants to go this way. When you have a dual drive, you're pushing the filament equally from both sides, so it doesn't have a bias to want to go one way or the other. So you combine dual drive with that zero tolerance fit with a PTFE tube, and when it wears out, you just replace that little piece of PTFE tube, and you can do any flexible you want on any printer. Now, there is a second problem with flexible, and that problem has to do with trying to push a rope. So, if I have a shaft, and I want to push that shaft, I can push that shaft, or I can pull that shaft, and it doesn't matter. It's fine. I can also do the same thing with a string. If I grab that string and pull it, it's fine. But now what happens when you push the string? The string buckles, okay? This is where Capricorn tube can come in handy, because that string will buckle inside of your PTFE tube. It won't be much, but it'll be enough to give you a stringing hell nightmare. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have your PTFE tube like this, and when you try to retract, or not when you track, when you try to push your filament, this is exaggerated, of course, your filament's going to do this inside your PTFE tube because you're trying to push a string. Okay? Now that's the whole.
Capricorn having a tighter inside helps that,
Yep.
and the extra lubricity of it.
So if I make this tube tighter, it can't buckle as much, but I'm also creating more drag, which is why I like their XS. It's more it's slicker, it's slipperier. But by having a direct drive where your feeder is directly on top of your hot end, you have, instead of having a tube this long for it to bunch up in, which is why you need like 10 millimeters of retraction, okay? Because you have to, you're not actually retracting the filament until after you've undone all the bunching up. So let's say I push the filament in and I want to retract 3 millimeters, but I've got 3 millimeters of bunch up inside of here. So now I have to retract the 3 millimeters to undo the bunch up, and then the 3 millimeters I actually want to retract. So you need 6 millimeters.
With that 80 whatever it was I was using a retraction because I mentioned I used retraction. My retraction was like 8.6 millimeters because that took up the sponge effect.
The slack.
It's stretchy, right?
Yep.
So you have to pull on it against the molten pool with the stretch in addition to the rope.
So by going with a Capricorn tube and by going with a EZR direct drive extruder with a restrained path, and by going with direct drive, the feeder right on top of the hot end, you remove all of those spaces where it could do this. And that's why a direct drive printer makes better prints with TPU. Boating can do it, but you're going to have stringing. You know, and you're going to have to really tune your retraction. And you can't just keep increasing your retraction, because if you increase your retraction too much, you're going to pull the filament out of the hot zone. And that's going to cause its own problems.
Yep. You get a cold area.
Get a ball on the end.
But that being said, I've had pretty good success with TPU, with retraction, as long as you set everything up right.
Yep. Slow things down. Eliminate all the gaps. Take your time. You'll get it.
But don't do like some of these people say, where you got to go down to 20 millimeters a second or whatever to work. You don't have to 20 millimeters a second to print TPU. I'm sorry.
Well, it depends on the printer. If you're trying to print TPU on a stock Ender 3, then yeah, you're going to be printing at about 20 millimeters a second. You're going to program for 30, so you're going to tell the slicer 30, but by the time you do the acceleration, the jerk, and the slowdowns, you're probably in the 20 to 25 range in reality.
Yep.
And vase mode prints work a lot better.
Yeah.
No retractions.
Yeah. I did do, why did I do that? I don't remember why, but I did do one of those rocket prints in TPU.
Mm-hmm.
I was sending it as a gag gift to somebody or whatever. And that was actually fun, but I did it in base mode with TPU. It turned out really nice.
I didn't print nothing else on the V2 yet. I went out, got the mail, went to the post office. We had dinner, and then I started the stream with him. So I haven't had a chance to do anything else, but all I did was the Marvin and the Klein bottle.
I'm just really apprehensive because that's the first in the wild 32-bit board from Creality, and I don't know exactly what they did with it.
Well, here's the funny thing. I couldn't read the SD card because Creality formatted the SD card NTFS.
Oh, nice.
So my computer could read it, but the printer couldn't.
Uh-huh.
And also, no sample G code on the SD card. So you had to slice something to print something. Let's see. No, your Ender 3, your stock Ender 3 will print the TPU you see on Amazon. The stiff TPU, the really stiff stuff. It'll print that just fine. Like this stuff that I just got. This TPU that I just got. This will print just fine on an Ender 3 as long as you slow down. Just keep the temperature up, slow down, try to minimize your retractions. If your model is heavy on retractions, you're going to have a bad day. But if your model is light on retractions, it will work. You'll still have failures, but it will work. I mean, I used a stock CR10 and printed a 400 millimeter tall Christmas tree in vase mode with TPU. It does work. You just got to be careful. Now, if you put an EZR extruder on there, you can print TPU just fine. You still have the retraction issue, but you won't have the escaping mouse issue. Because what will happen is on the stock extruder, if you go too fast, or even if there's a backup because you had too many retractions, what happens is the filament will escape out the side here. And once it escapes, that's it. You're done. You're just going to see a bunch of filament coming out of the extruder.
It'll be a mess.
Now the good news is it doesn't actually destroy the filament. You can pull it all through and rewind it up, but it's a pain in the butt. But put an easy R on there and you'll be fine. Or if you get the cheaper metal extruder where the exit is flat, which there's like an actual gap between the gears and the exit port, which clearly won't do TPU. But if you drill a hole into that arm so that you can stick a piece of PTFE tube in there, you can make that into a TPU monster doing that by doing that little thing I showed you with the piece of PTFE tube to fill the gap. But at that point, just what, Michelle? You can let it run. She's used to her shower. Mine's at the other end of the house. So you got 50 feet of line to get the cold water out of.
Takes it a while to heat up.
Yep. We don't leave the hot water heater on because the water is so hard. I don't want to take a chance of it cycling the hot water and just burning up the element.
Yeah.
So I have a...
Yeah.
Dinner's ready.
Thank you.
Yum, yum, yum. So I have a little dedicated, 7-gallon, 110 volt water heater for the kitchen. And then whenever we want to get a shower, we just turn on the water heater.
Making it work.
I might have an idea from 3D printing to make a hard water compatible hot water heater though.
Nice.
I got a free hot water heater off of local marketplace. And that's actually a brand new propane hot water heater, but she went natural gas. And I haven't done anything to it yet because my neighbor said he could use it maybe if it'll fit. So I told him as long as his isn't rusted out, I don't care. He can have it because I don't need the hot water heater to work. I just need a non-rusted out shell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get those heating pads that we use for the printers, like the Kinova heating pads.
Uh-huh.
I can get 1500 watt, 240 volt heating pads.
Yeah.
Well, 3 of those is 4,500 watts, which is the same as the element that's in the heater right now.
Uh-huh.
So what I'll do is I'll get rid of the heating element altogether, and I'll put the heating pads on the outside of the pressure vessel inside, and I'll heat it from outside. And this way the heating elements never touch the water. And I'll never have to worry about the heating elements dying because of the hard water. Just like once every 6 months, dump, a gallon of vinegar in the tank to clean out all the hard water residue. So in theory, that should work.
Yep.
And what I hope to do is to run 2 of the heating pads at the bottom on, 240 volt power, and then the 3rd heating pad, run that off solar panels directly. So if I happen to get enough sunlight to keep the water tank hot, then the 240 volt pads will never have to turn on. And that'll save me power in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
I have one, Timothy. Go to my videos, and I have a Teespring link in the description of my latest video. And I have a t-shirt that says "Vote Yum Yum ETP." And then on the back it says ETP, eat the politicians.
Just got to get through this without busting any pins. That is the one danger to this, is if you're not careful. Either break the pin or the pin don't stay seated. Cause problems. Come on, you.
At Asana, we know people.
All right. Well, this one wasn't fully loomed out, so we'll just bring it up and it's kind of there.
There you go. Hey, that's not what I want. Go away. So you go to my Teespring store, and then that one right there. Okay.
There you go.
And then on the back,
Do you want to hear something really funny? When I did the wiring on one of these last night, just because I had a little bit of time left or whatever, and I'm going through it, and they've done a reasonable job of labeling all of the wires that come out. But I had a nozzle and bed thermistor in white, and the two thermistors, one was nozzle, one was bed. That's fine, but one of the not the hot end fans.
Mm-hmm.
So one was labeled Fun One, which is fan one, right? But the other one was marked nozzle thermistor again as the other fan. I was able to figure it out, obviously, but it was just sort of entertaining. Bed thermistor is that one. And for those that are taking notes, I try and loom the wires as cleanly as possible so there's the least amount of passovers and crosses as can be. And I don't get like militant with it and whatever, but I do as tidy of a job as I can of not having a bunch of stuff overlap that doesn't have to.
Reptar, I'm not a firmware expert, so take this with a grain of salt. But my philosophy on firmware is if the printer is working correctly and doing everything it's supposed to, I leave it alone. The only time I would upgrade firmware is if I have a problem and the firmware upgrade will fix that problem.
Yep. No big.
Come in now, please. Now.
Yeah, just give me a second. She's enjoying the fact that she knows that it bothers me when she does that when I'm on a live stream.
That's good.
Yeah.
Happy victims.
Yep. So it sounds like I'm going to be taking a break to eat here for a bit, so I'll probably actually wrap the stream up.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to join me later, Chris, when I come back on, but I probably will fire it back up when I come back out to work after I eat, which will probably be in about half an hour or so. So you let me know if you want me to ping you or not.
Okay, ping me. If I'm still up, I'll do it.
With some food. I'm not going to torture everybody by putting everybody on hold while I go eat. That's just rude. Almost as rude as what my wife was just a minute ago. Yeah. All right. Everybody, thanks for following along for this far. We've got 2 out of 3 fully done with the wiring reversal and the BMGs put on. When I come back, I'll do the 3rd one for the wiring reversal. I'll show some of the more specific things I'm doing as I loom the wiring harness. Reality has been getting pretty good about leaving certain points for putting zip ties on to anchor wires, and I'll show you how I handle it so you don't get wire fatigue. And I'll also show you how I introduce badge retractors to how I introduce the badge retractors to act as a wire tending for the X-axis wires, because otherwise it's just dangling in the breeze, and I set it up with a badge retractor to sort of maintain it.
Hey, you live in a low humidity location?
I'm sorry?
Do you live in low humidity?
So in the Pacific Northwest, we're what most people consider moderate humidity. Mm-hmm. We do, when we get warm in the summer, it's hot because we have so much moisture in the ground.
Okay.
But it's definitely not like Louisiana or something like that. It's moderate temperature, moderate heat. Our year-round mean temperature here is 63 degrees. So it's fairly even tempered, but on a bad winter, we can see 17 below, and on a hot summer, we can see 108, 110. And it's the worst 108, 110 because it's with 80% humidity or something. It's just nuts. But
I have an interesting problem here. It's not really a problem. It's just an oddity I'm trying to figure out. I mean, I got the air conditioner going, and the temperature is dropping outside. It's already like 70 degrees outside. Right around now, I can feel it right now, right around 10 o'clock, it feels like it's getting warmer in here, even though it's not.
Yeah, that's the heat soak from your asphalt roof. If you had good attic airflow and good fans, that wouldn't happen so much.
Yeah, and about an hour from now, it's gone.
Yep.
It almost
It'll
feels
break
like the
because of
humidity is
loss
going
of
up.
solar radiation, but it's the accumulation of solar heat on the asphalt roof. I almost guarantee it. Okay, so guys watching, I'm going to end the broadcast for now. I'll be back on in about a half hour. If you want to be bored with us some more, feel free to join in. See you then.